All right, all right. We have listened and we see you all have a couple of questions, and we're going to make sure that we try to answer them to the best of our ability.
Yes.
So the first question is, are students allowed to visit each other in the dorms? Well, we all know that this is going to look quite differently. So we want to make sure that we follow the guidelines that are highlighted in the CDC policy as well as the university guidelines. So we're going to make sure to establish those as well too. So as it's highlighted in the residential halls as well as in the CDC and both the university policies, we'll make sure to follow those standards. And also, my next question that the students have, what will the limits be for events and size? Two questions that mirror the same answer. We are going to continue to follow the guidelines established by the CDC as well as the university. And as those change, we'll continue to keep the students updated as the events occur.
We have one question, which is a very important question, I believe. Is there a deadline to choose how you want to take your classes? Now, again, we have three different options. One is the traditional format, one is the virtual format, then the hybrid, which is a mixture of the two. So, yes, there is a deadline, but we're nowhere close to that deadline yet. It's 11 days after census. But here's the thing. I need you to go ahead and register now. The earlier that you register, the better position that it puts us in to make preparations for you for activities, for class sizes, all of those things. So if you have not registered, new returning transfer students, if you're coming to UAPB in the fall, I need you to register as soon as possible so that we can put these plans in place to try to ensure your safety upon returning to the campus.
Yes.
One question that we have, is it too late to apply for the university? As shared earlier, no. We want you here at UAPB. We want you to be a part of our Golden Lion family. Did you get any more questions, either of you all?
Well, it's always a question, how to be engaged? How can we be involved? And there's always room for involvement here on campus. Whether you are a first-time freshman or a graduating senior, we're always looking for you to be engaged. So always email getinvolved@uapb.edu, and we'll make sure that you're involved on campus.
And I think it's also good to revisit some of the questions. And I know you've been hearing us say a lot, CDC guidelines, CDC guidelines, CDC guidelines. It's hard to give you an exact number because all activities aren't held in the same location. So depending on classroom sizes, depending on building sizes where activities are held, then Dean Brown and her staff may have to make adjustments. So one event, there may only be able to be 20 people there. Another event, there may be able to be 100 people there. A classroom that holds 150 people, that classroom can adjust down to a little bit larger versus a classroom that only holds 20 or 30. That class size is going to be a little different. So when we say CDC guidelines, of course, when you take into account that tables, desks, chairs, and things of that nature have to be 6 feet apart, then once we make those adjustments, the different class sizes are going to be modified accordingly. So I think it's important for us to talk about that a little bit more because I know that's a big question on everybody's mind, specifically parents, wanting to know, is my baby going to be safe? Mm-hmm. What is the university doing to ensure the safety of my child before I send them to Pine Bluff, Arkansas? Mm-hmm. So we do want you to know that depending on the classroom, that class size could change. So it could be a class of 6, it could be a class of 20. It just depends on how large that particular classroom is and what activity has to go on in that classroom. We know labs are much smaller anyway because of the activities that you have to do in a lab. So when we throw in CDC guidelines, of course, they're going to be even smaller. So we're not trying not to give you a number, but without physically going around to every classroom and writing those numbers down, it's a little hard to come off the cuff and give you an exact number of what an activity or what a classroom size will really look like. So we're not avoiding answering your question, but it is really going to be based on the classroom, the building, and the activity itself that will determine, based on CDC standards, what that will look like. Another question I know that I've taken today before the virtual day party is, do we have to get tested? So the answer to that question is no. If you're not experiencing symptoms, most testing facilities aren't going to test you anyway because they're trying to test people who have symptoms. However, if someone in your family has tested positive, yes, by all means, get tested.
Now, Ms. Green, I do want our students to quarantine before coming on campus.
Yes.
Those who are coming to our traditional format, I want them to
Isolate.
quarantine.
10-day period.
We're getting close to that time.
Yes.
And the other thing is they need to visit our website.
Yes.
www.uapb.edu. Everything is in detail there. You have letters from the chancellor, letters from me, letters from Mr. Bennett, our provost. All of us have written letters that mirror CDC guidelines. You can see a little bit more to what we're doing with CDC.